Let's talk about index and match function in this video. And before we start with our practical examples, let's understand their basics. So index function basically takes a row number as input and it returns the corresponding value from that row in our range as the output. For example, here we have a name column and these four cells. If we select these four cells as our range and we select one as our row number, index will return the value at the first cell as our output. If we change it to 2, it will start returning PQR, which is at the second position. Now, if we have multiple columns in our range, we can also decide which column we want to return using our index function. For example, here we want to return salary for employee PQR. We will write index. We will select this entire range. Since PQR is in the second row, we will select 2 as our row. And now we want to return salary, which is the second column in this range. So we will write 2 as column and we get our salary as well. We can also return multiple columns using index match. If we wanted to return both the columns, we will write both 1 and 2 separated by comma using our curly brackets and it returns both the columns. Now if we wanted to get the same details for ABC, we will have to change our row from 2 to 1. Let's do that. If we want to get the details for LMN, we will change the row number from 1 to 4. This procedure where we have to change our row number and column number manually, it can be made dynamic using match function. Let's make our row number dynamic using match. For that, we need to know the index or position of our name in this range. Match function can help us get that. So match function basically looks for a value in a column or row and it returns its position in that range. Let's say we want to find the position of ABC in this range. We will write match. ABC will be our lookup value. The column name will be our range. And we will select 0 for an exact match. This gives us the position of ABC in this range. If we change it to PQR, the position will change to 2 automatically. Now that our match is dynamic, we just need to plug this match function into our index function. Let's copy it and we will paste it as our second parameter in index. And now when we change our lookup value, the results are changing accordingly. So match function finds the position of the value we are searching and index function returns the results at that position in the range. Let's talk about them more with some practical scenarios. Let's look at our first example. Here we want to return the quantity on the basis of product name, which is pretty straightforward now that we understand index match. Since we want to return quantity, that will be our array of the index formula. Product 7 is at the 7th position in this range, but we will not hardcode 7. We have to make it dynamic so that when our product name changes, this value should change accordingly. We will do that using match. So let's write match here. The lookup value will be product 7. We will look it up into our product column and since we want an exact match, we will select 0. Let's close our bracket and we will not specify anything right now for our third parameter. So let's keep it blank. Now when we change our product names, their corresponding quantity is changing accordingly. Let's go ahead and make our formula a little more smart. Now this cell can accept two values, price and quantity. If we choose quantity, it should show the product quantity, and if we choose price, it should show that. It's pretty easy. Let's visualize it before we implement it. So earlier we were just returning quantity. Now based on this selection, we need to make it dynamic. We can do that if we select both of these columns as our index array instead of just quantity. Now if we choose 1, it will return quantity, and if we choose 2 as our column, it will return price. It's similar to what we do in VLOOKUP. Based on our column selection, the values are returned. Let's make this column selection part dynamic so that Excel knows when to return quantity or 1 and when to return price or 2. For that, we can write another match function. This cell will be our lookup value and this will be our range. We want an exact match. Now when we select quantity, it is returning 1, and when we select price, it is returning 2. Let's plug this formula into our original index and match function. We will copy this and we will paste it here. And now when we change our product, the value is changing accordingly. At the same time, if we select price, we are getting the price, and when we are selecting quantity, we are getting quantity. We will practice this more in our practice exercise at the end of this section. Now let's solve the two problems we had earlier with VLOOKUP. Here we want to look up product ID on the basis of product name. We can easily do that. For index, we will use product ID column because that is what we want to return eventually. For match, we will select product name column because that is where we want to perform the match. Bam! We are able to get the product ID on the basis of product name, even though it is on the left hand side of product name, which contains our lookup value. This was simply not possible with VLOOKUP. For our other problem, we wanted to match information from multiple columns. We take the concatenation of first name, last name, and department inside the match function using the AND operator. We do the same for our columns that contains the data. We add these columns together using the AND operator. Now this will give us the row number where our match is present, and we just need to plug that in our index function and we will get the correct answer. These two scenarios can be solved easily with index and match, while they would have been really challenging with VLOOKUP. Index match works well as substitute for HLOOKUP as well. For example, if we want to find the score of Sam in SQL using index match, the index will point to the row containing details for SQL. For the second parameter, we will use match function which will match Sam in this row. The result of match will be 5, and when it gets substituted in index, it will return the correct value 85. Let's look at another scenario. Here we have a bunch of employees and we need to find a suitable designation for them based on their salary. On a quick glance, we can see that the salary of the employees is not equal to the salary mentioned in our lookup sheet. If we do an exact match, it will return NA. So here we can use the other two options, 1 and -1 for match type. 1 finds the largest value from the table array which is less than or equal to the lookup value. So here for 10, the highest value which is less than or equal to 10 is 8. For the second row again, the highest value which is less than 20 is 8. For the third row, 22 is less than 30 but it is greater than 8, so 22 will be displayed. Now we just need to plug this in our index function and we will start seeing the designations. Remember, for less than or 1 option, the table array should be sorted in ascending order while for -1 it should be sorted in descending order. Excel recommends using XMatch instead of Match Now because it's more sophisticated and powerful. We will work on XLOOKUP in our next video. After that, we will be able to understand the XMatch as well. XLOOKUP is so powerful that now Excel recommends using XLOOKUP instead of VLOOKUP. I can't wait to discuss it in the next video.